views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect those of Access Fort Wayne, the Allen County Public Library, or any other supporting groups. If you'd like to produce a show, call us at 260-421-1250.
Let me be your lighthouse so I can show you the way. Let me be your shining light, I'll keep you from drifting away. I'm the one that makes you try when...
This is Patty Hunter of Patty's Page. We are here in our home studio here in Fort Wayne, Indiana, with a special guest, Dave Butler. Hello, sir.
Nice to meet you. Nice to talk to you, yes.
Do continue. Okay, we're going to be talking about him. He's a very interesting fellow, and he has a book out, and it's called The Pole Vault. Oh, heavy. We'll show that later. The Pole Vault, a Violent Ballet. We'll talk about that later on. But first off, we're going to talk about who he is, where he was born and raised, and how he grew up and all that sort.
Well, I was born here in Fort Wayne.
Oh.
1953. I went to New Haven High School.
Yeah.
I grew up here, spent all of my learning years, development years here, and then went to Ball State in Muncie to get an education and to pole vault there.
Pole vault. What made you interested in pole vaulting? I mean, why?
Well, I wanted to play football, and at the time in the 70s, there was not year-round sports. In this day and age, everybody specializes, but back then, the coaches made you go out for other sports. So when you're out for football, what do you do in the winter and the spring? So they said you have to be out for a spring sport if you want to play football.
Right. Oh.
And of course, I was in my first year of football. I went over to track practice. Well, what can you do? I said, I've never done any of this. So I tried the hurdles and I fell down. And I tried to run distance and I threw up. And all this stuff. And then they finally said, well, he's not a very good athlete, send him over to the pole vault. Which is kind of funny because pole vaulting is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
So the first day I jumped and I cleared a real low bar and I just thought it was the best thing I'd ever done. I just loved it. It just hooked me.
So it caught on.
It did.
So how long have you been pole vaulting itself? How many years did you do?
I vaulted from 71 until 82.
Wow.
83. Then I had a really bad shoulder injury and had to have surgery.
I'm sorry.
And you can't move your shoulder, you can't stretch your shoulder, you're not going to pole vault very high. So I had to decide, okay, what am I going to do? And a friend of mine encouraged me to be a coach.
A coach?
Yeah.
So how do you mentor to younger people to be able to get over that? The arch, getting over that pole.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? That's the reason I wrote the book.
Oh.
I had two Olympians, American Olympians, within a week of each other.
Yeah.
That said to me, and one of them was the Olympic champion, and they both said to me, when are you going to write a book? You need to write a book.
About time, eh?
And I said, really? And so when after Scott Huffman was former American record holder, he said that to me, and then a week later the Olympic champion called me, we were talking, and he goes, you need to write a book. I go, did you talk to Scott Huffman? He goes, no, I haven't talked to Scott Huffman. I said, well, Scott says I need to write a book too. So after getting encouraged by a number of old friends and coaches and everything else, I started writing.
What the heck? You got a lot of stuff up there.
It's a lot of stuff, yes.
So the kind of pole vault itself, what is it made of?
Poles today are made of fiberglass or a mixture of carbon fiber and fiberglass.
Is that good?
It's very good. But back in the day, back in the beginnings of pole vaulting, it was all on bamboo or wood.
Oh, snap.
They got rid of wood because the wood would break and splinter. Bamboo was much stronger and much better.
Is it?
And so the guys loved jumping on bamboo, but then, after World War II, you couldn't find bamboo because it was not, you couldn't ship it from Japan
Because of the war.
So they changed and went to metal composites.
Oh.
And they jumped on metal for many years until about 1962. And then they started using fiberglass.
Yeah. Wow. What's it like?
Vaulting? I was telling one of my athletes the other day, pole vaulting is like the earliest form of flying.
Yeah.
So nowadays you have all kinds of X Games and people doing aerials and all kinds of different stuff, Cirque du Soleil, gymnastics, a lot of different ways to fly nowadays. But back then, pole vaulting was the first thing where someone could use a pole and get into the air and actually feel like you're flying.
Wow, it's like freedom.
It is, isn't it?
In a way.
Very much.
When you first started out, did you fall a lot?
I did. I didn't. Back then, there were not a lot of pole vaulting coaches. So we had this book, like my book. We had this book that you'd open up the pages, and then you'd say, "I'm going to jump like that," and then you'd try to jump like that. Now I didn't have a coach. My high school coach, Pat Monahan, was a throws coach. So he would come out and watch me vault, but he didn't know what to say to me.
Oh.
And when I vaulted, I had bad technique, so I'd always land on the ground. I couldn't make the pit, so I got really good at landing on the ground.
Sorry. You didn't break anything, did you?
You have a few injuries. It's like any sport. You have injuries. Now the pits are much bigger. They're much safer.
It's a thing where you put the pole into it, like a pocket or something like that.
Yeah, it's called a box.
Box. Okay.
But really what it is a hole in the ground. It used to be a hole in the ground. So the early boxes, they would take a gardening trowel and they'd dig down. They'd go, okay, that looks pretty good. Then they started putting pieces of 2x4 pounded into the ground as a stop board, and then that developed into the box.
So was it easy to see in the beginning of your pole vaulting, the hole that you can be able to get in?
Yeah, the new boxes they have an angle going down, and they're made specifically for that tip of the pole to slide in and then stop.
Like a harpoon.
Yeah, like a harpoon with no point, yeah.
What's the point in it? Okay, this is point, no point. Get it?
Yeah.
Sorry, bad joke. Let me find out more about how long did it take for you to write this?
Well, I've written a lot of articles that have been published, and so whenever I get a new concept or an idea, I write it. And I make an article about it to give it a nickname in case it will be published, or in case we use it for the book. So I have a lot of the text already written, and then all we did, I have one of the world's largest collections of pole vault images, 19,000 images in film.
Wow.
And so all I had to do is we would take each chapter and say, okay, we want to put that picture there, we're going to put the text here. And we would just design it chapter by chapter and then put it together.
Holy mackerel, this show.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Can you show him several pictures?
Yeah, I'll open a few pictures here and pay very slowly like that. But we just kind of put it together like that. I had a working artist that helped design the book, and we tried to have drawings that were made by different artists around the world, and illustrations. What?
Illustrators.
Yeah. There's a website called, now I just forgot the name of it.
Oh, that's good.
But it's a website where you can hire anyone from all over the world, artists from all over the world.
Oh.
So you give them a concept, they send back sketches, then you make an offer of how much you want to pay them, and it wasn't very expensive, you know, $50, whatever. And then,
How long did it take for them to do an illustration? About half hour or 45 minutes?
well, you know, it just depends. Sometimes, you know, these illustrations here is one of my athletes, and so they did this wonderful, you know, they're beautiful. So
It shows. Yeah,
Yeah.
to see it. See?
that's one of the illustrations.
Black and white. Is that ink?
Yeah.
Black ink? Indigo?
And then the Violent Ballet illustration, I'm really proud of this.
Why do they call it the Violent Ballet?
Well,
Who started it?
I have a background in dance. In graduate school, I became a dance minor because the head of the department thought I was not being respectful to dancers being athletic, and so she changed my minor to dance and made me take all these courses. And it turns out it was a good experience because I absolutely loved dance and loved ballet.
It's like to get coordinated,
Well, for everything. You can get stronger, get faster, more flexible.
and you can do more sports.
Yeah, exactly.
Dang.
So, yeah, I just feel like when you see a vaulter do it right, where they've got a beautiful flow and it's this beautiful jump, it kind of looks like a dance. So we call it the Violent Ballet because you have to be very aggressive and not afraid and almost violent to go down there and attack that box and to bend that pole. And so that just kind of came up with my good friend Jim B. Miller, coach the Olympic champion, came up with the concept of the Violent Ballet. And I said, I love it. Let's use it. So
When was this book released?
about 5 years ago.
And how's it selling? Pretty good?
We have only about 50 books left out of 2,000.
And so, these are the people at Marshall.
Yeah, sure. So this is Olympic bronze medalist Sam Kendricks. This is just photographs of famous people in pole vaulting that I have. Dave Roberts, Olympic bronze medalist in 1976. Olympic champion, one of the guys that encouraged me to write the book. And this is my Olympian from Tokyo. Jumped 15.6 and made the Olympic team. His name is Morgan from Louisiana.
Morgan.
Old friend Blomqvist from Sweden.
Yeah,
Ron Morris, rest in peace. He just passed away last week.
I'm sorry.
Ron's Olympic silver medalist. Old friend, he jumped on bamboo, metal, and fiberglass.
Ah, so he went through
He
the...
was a master. Maxim Tarasov from Russia. I asked him to take some pictures for me when he gets my book, and he made it look like he's getting ready to vault, and he's holding the book and reading it at the same time, which I think is just hilarious. So these are just a bunch of pictures. I lay them out on the table of famous pole vaulting people that have my book. And this is my mentor, Vitaly Petrov from the Ukraine. And he's my great friend and teacher that's helped me so much. So,
How long did it take to write the wee book?
well, the worst part about it is that you'd have it written and then you'd have to edit it.
Oh, edit, yeah.
And so we had over 200 edits for years. So the last time that I was editing, I had 12 problems. And so I told my designer, okay. He said, how many? I said, 12. We're shipping it off to China. China did the printing. They did an incredible job. And the price was right. And so we had over 200 edits. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done is having to sit there on a weekend and read a book that has 250, 30 pages and go over it again and again and again to make sure it was perfect. So.
It's just like showbiz. So, you're going to be writing, I think, 5 years?
I don't remember. I mean, I did I did a lot of the writing for years before we even started the book.
So you got here and there, and
But-
you put them all together?
Yeah, it's just getting the right images and the illustrators and the writing, and then my designer, who did an incredible job, would put it together. See, this vaulter here on the cover is the Olympic champion from 1964, and he is an old friend of mine because he was my dentist for 25 years. And so when I was deciding on the cover, I originally wanted Mondo Duplantis,
Oh, yeah.
he's the son of one of my old friends, and I've known Mondo since he was a little kid. But we decided to go with the past Olympic champion 1964, and then Olympic champion 2021
Wow,
on the back. So
wow.
if we do a second printing, we're going to try to switch it and put Mondo on the cover.
I see what you mean by the different color of the pole. It's so different flavors. So this is the old pole vault that he used. What was that he used?
Well, he uses fiberglass, but he landed in scrap foam rubber.
Oh,
Back then in 1964, they just had scrap foam rubber piled on top of sand.
what do they have now?
Now they have foam rubber. It's all made in modules. Yeah, it's about 4.5 feet of foam rubber. So if you miss the pit,
Oh boy,
not fun.
not fun. Which
Not at all.
you have?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
What day?
I had a girl about a month ago, for the first time in her life, miss the pit completely off to the right side, land on the ground, and then stand up and walk away as if nothing had happened. And she goes, well, I guess my rock climbing taught me how to fall.
Rock climbing, my stars.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have so much behind them, so much energy, and where do you get the energy to get that running, jump and go over? How do you get
You
the
have to do months and months of training to get the body ready so the body doesn't break down and get hurt.
Ah,
Because pole vaulting stresses the body so much. It's gymnastics on a stick. So you do a lot of different training: sprinting, hurdling, lifting weights, yoga, Pilates, medicine ball, rope, climbing rope, high bar, you name it, right?
Did you do water exercise?
Yes, you can. Well, actually, we have underwater pole vaulting, where you take the pole and you do everything slow motion and weightless.
So you
Yeah.
go through the motions so
Yep.
you know what to do.
Exactly.
So that's like training in a way.
Yeah, it is.
Training, therapy. I bet that's wonderful.
It's mental too, because when you can feel yourself weightless, you can feel positions that it helps you to, that translates to
Yeah.
pole vaulting higher. Yeah. And last night was exciting. Last night was the men's final for the Olympic trials.
How was it?
It was very competitive, very exciting.
Well, what's the highest? How many feet have you jumped the highest?
Well, I jumped 16.6,
Oh,
but Mondo, the boy on the back of my cover here,
yeah.
has jumped 20 feet 5 inches.
How tall
And
is
that's
he?
the world record. He's 6'2".
Anyone taller than me?
So he's a real deal. He's the greatest vaulter that's come along in 30
How old
years.
is he?
Oh, he's 24, 25.
Well, he's young.
Very
He's got
young.
the energy.
Yeah.
When you get older.
Yeah.
Well, how old were you when you started to slowly get out of pole vaulting?
Well, I was in graduate school, and I'd had the injury, so I had to stop. And an Olympian named Ralph Boston, who is a 3-time Olympic medalist in the long jump, so he's earned bronze, silver, and gold in 3 different Olympic games. He took me out for dinner, and he said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I think I'm thinking about coaching." And he goes, "Well, I think you should learn the other events, because if the more you know movement, the better coach you'll be."
That's right.
So I spent the mornings and afternoons at University of Tennessee working with Olympic bronze medalist in the javelin, Bill Schmidt, working with Bruno Paletto from Canada.
Aha, Canada,
He's a
eh?
Canadian Olympian.
Canadian, eh?
And I learned all the different events, and it did. When I went back to the pole vault, started coaching again, I was a better coach.
How long have you been doing that then?
Well, I started coaching in 1977,
Oh, shoot. man.
quite a while.
So, getting up there, kid, gonna raise some cane. I used to be a.
You could pole vault with that if you know, it's kind of a short little jump, wouldn't it?
I'm short anyways.
Yeah.
So it doesn't. Whack, whack, whack. I used to do volleyball in high school. And,
Oh, I love volleyball.
that's coordination, but once in a while I hit there instead of there.
Mm-hmm,
And to leave it.
mm-hmm.
But I love watching sports on TV. I've always been an admirer of people who do pole vaulting because it just boggles the mind how they manage to do that high, you know, without something snapping.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so,
And you have the women now that are jumping, you know, the women's world record is what I cleared.
mhm.
So you have a couple of women that have jumped 16.6 and a few that have jumped 16 feet.
Shoot.
So the best women in the world are jumping around just a little over 16 feet. And that's tough.
It is. How did they manage to get as strong as the men to do it?
Well, they're not as strong as the men, but
No.
but they train in a lot of different facets to be able to be strong enough and fast enough and have the technique to be able to use that pole and use it wisely.
So how long do they normally be in pole vaulting, the ladies?
That's a good question. A lot of the athletes nowadays get started probably in middle school, and then they jump high school,
Right.
college, and then if you want to become a professional and you're jumping high enough, then they'll jump until, you know, early 30s.
And if they want children, they either children or pole vaulting?
No, not at all. They just take a break and have a child and come back and pole vault. The track and field athletes do that all the time. In fact, they've found a couple of women are running better now that they've had a child.
Because
They used to say, "Oh, pole vaulting is dangerous. It's not healthy for the girls," you know, right? But no, that's not true. So yeah, and the girls, the women are. Katie Moon is a sweetheart. She's just a wonderful Olympic champion, and
Is any here of the woman you're talking about?
no, only Morgan,
Only
Morgan, my
Morgan.
Olympian. Yeah. Now this is Stacy Dracula. So Stacy was the first Olympic champion in history for women in 2000. She won the gold medal. She's an old friend, and she's just a sweetheart. But yeah, she's used to rodeo.
Oh my God.
She was a very multi-talented athlete and used to rodeo. So yeah, and that's my dentist. He would fill my mouth full of cotton, start working on my mouth, and
And
start
ask
asking
you
me questions about
questions,
the
yeah.
vaulters. And I'd say, and
Is that
he'd understand
really?
me.
Is that right? I understand.
Yes.
Oh, well,
He would,
I
yes.
guess after a certain while you start
So
to-
funny. Now this is Rinaldo Dionisi. And Rinaldo Dionisi is a vaulter from the 60s and early 70s. Okay, he was an Olympian from Italy,
Which one? That one?
Rinaldo.
Ah,
And
that one.
I go to Italy every January to participate in the European conference there. And he came up to me and look at the way he signed the book. I had a drawing in the book that he did, and I
Mercy.
didn't know that. And so he told me the page that's on. I can't remember what page it was on, but I have one of the diagrams that I use in a book. He drew back in the 1970s.
Merciful heavens.
Yeah.
What a character.
Oh, he's a great guy, great guy.
Does he have kids following him? They grew up?
I don't know. I don't know if he has any children or not. I met him for the first time 3 years ago. It was very special to meet him. So, yeah.
Merciful heavens. It's a personal story, every picture.
And it all started in Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
All started in New Haven.
Well,
Yep.
yeah.
Where can people get the book? Where can people get?
Oh yeah, different website.
I don't have a website.
Do you have Facebook?
I do have Facebook. It's called The Pole Vault, a museum of its history. And so I put my collection, you know, every week I put a couple of or artworks and a couple of films or a couple of inspirational messages about pole vaulting. Yeah.
Do you have, are you on eBay or Etsy to get your
No, we're
Amazon?
working on some other things, but basically it's word of mouth, or you know, you just contact me or email me, and
So you're going to give us your email, eh?
I'll give you the email.
You
Yeah.
betcha.
And you PayPal me, and you send me the money, and I ship you the book. But we only have about 50 left, and we're trying to get
First come, first serve.
trying to get the $20,000 to be able to print 2,000 more.
Are you self-printing?
I self-published it, yes.
That's it.
And I'll tell you why, because the companies that wanted to do the book for me and publish it wanted to take 85%.
Dang, that's too much.
And I wanted, you know, this is my
Oh,
life's work, so I
yes.
wanted to be able to, you
Yeah,
know.
have something for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Dang. Well, I'm going to have to say, adios, mi amigos, amiga. Hey, thank you, Mr. Butler, or Dave Butler. What's the word? Japanese. Anyways,
Sayonara.
sayonara. Oh,
By the way, Japan's my favorite place in the whole world.
so am I. Never been there.
They asked me to speak in Takamatsu last year. Takamatsu is on the inland sea, so it's one of the smaller islands of Japan.
Is that where they have all the earthquakes?
And they have earthquakes all over the islands.
Well, we gotta go. Ciao. See you next week.
Godspeed, my love, until we meet again. You're always in my heart and every dream. Don't let this time apart give in to all our fears. God will keep us close from up above. So until we meet again, Godspeed, my love. God is with us always, and for the rest of